Something, but we lost to Denver the other day in overtime. Jokic dropped 40 and 13 and sealed the deal with some damn one-legged fall-away jump shot over the outstretched arms of the 7'5" Victor Wembanyama.
Nikola Jokic has already proved everyone wrong, and at this point, it is impossible to deny it. He was never supposed to become this kind of player. He was not the top pick. He was not the face of his draft class. He was not the young star that scouts could not stop talking about. He was a second-round pick who entered the league with almost no noise around his name. A lot of people saw him as slow, out of shape, and limited. They thought he could pass well for a big man, but they did not believe he had the body, speed, or style to become a superstar. Now look at him. He is one of the smartest players the game has ever seen, one of the most complete players in basketball, and one of the few stars who has changed how people think about greatness. That is what makes his story so powerful. Jokic did not become great by fitting into the picture people already had in their minds. He became great by breaking that picture. He did not win people over with big dunks, loud moments, or flashy moves made for highlight clips. He won with timing, touch, vision, patience, and control. He made the game look simple while doing things that should not even be possible for a player his size. He turned the center position into something new. He became a player who can score like a star, rebound like a giant, and pass like an elite guard, all while making the game slow down to his own speed. That is why this is not just a story about a great player. This is a story about a player who changed the rules without asking for permission. Back in the 2014 NBA draft, almost nobody was talking about Nikola Jokic in a serious way. The attention was on the big names. Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid, and Jabari Parker were the players people believed would shape the future. Those were the stars. Those were the names on every headline. Jokic was nowhere near that level of attention. He was far from the spotlight, playing in Serbia, still raw, still developing, and not looking like the kind of player NBA teams usually chase. He did not have the body scouts wanted. He did not move in a way that made people say, wow. He did not look explosive. He did not look fast. So teams kept passing on him. 40 players were drafted before Denver finally took him with the 41st pick. That alone tells you how badly the league missed on him. Teams picked guards, wings, and big men with better-looking tools. They saw jump, speed, power, and upside in other players, but they did not fully understand what they were watching when they looked at Jokic. They noticed his passing, and they noticed his feel for the game, but they did not trust what those skills could become. They looked at his body and thought it set a limit on his future. They looked at his style and thought it would not work at the highest level. What they failed to understand was that his mind was already operating far above most players around him. That is the part that makes the whole story almost hard to believe. Jokic was not overlooked because he could not play. He was overlooked because he did not look like what people expected greatness to look like. That happens a lot in sports. People trust the body before the brain. They trust speed before timing. They trust power before touch. And with Jokic, that mistake became one of the biggest misses the NBA has ever made. His game was already built on the things that last the longest. Vision lasts, skill lasts, patience lasts, reading the game lasts. And once he got stronger, more confident, and more comfortable in the league, those gifts became impossible to stop. When Jokic first arrived in Denver, there was no massive wave of hype waiting for him. He was not treated like a future MVP. He was not expected to become the center of a title team. He was just another young player trying to find a place in the league. But sometimes the people inside the gym see things before the rest of the world does. In practice, Jokic started showing flashes that stood out right away. Veterans noticed the passing. Coaches noticed the timing. Teammates noticed how easy he made the game for everyone around him. He was not just making the right pass. He was making passes that most players would never even think to try. Still, real respect in the NBA only comes when you do it under pressure, in real games, night after night. Jokic's rise was not one giant explosion in one season. It was a slow build, and that almost made it even more dangerous. In his rookie year, the numbers were solid, but they did not scream superstar. He was productive, smart, and efficient, but not yet the kind of player casual fans would circle on every highlight show. If you only looked at the box score, you might have seen a useful young center. But if you watched closely, you could already see that he was different. The touch around the basket was special. The passes were rare. The calm was unusual. He did not rush. He did not force. He played like someone who could already see the next move before everyone else. As the seasons went on, those small signs turned into real growth. Jokic kept improving, and every year he added more control to the game. He was scoring more, rebounding more, and creating more for his teammates. By his second and third years, it became clear that Denver had something far bigger than a good draft steal. They had a player who could run an offense through the center spot. That is still hard to fully explain because it goes against what most people have believed about basketball for years. Centers were supposed to protect the rim, grab rebounds, set screens, and finish easy plays. Jokic took that idea and tore it apart. He became the player every possession could flow through. What made it so hard to guard him was that he never played the game in a normal way. He did not need to beat you with speed, he beat you with timing. He did not need to jump over defenders, he beat them with angles. He did not need to force shots. He waited, read the floor, and picked the right answer again and again. If a defender stepped too high, he slipped a pass behind him. If the help came late, he floated the ball softly over the top. If the defense stayed home, he backed his man down and used touch instead of force. It was like watching someone solve a problem in real time while everyone else was still trying to understand the question. By the time Denver started making real playoff runs, Jokic was no longer a hidden gem. He was turning into the heart of a serious team. The Nuggets were not just fun anymore. They were dangerous, and Jokic was the reason why. He gave them structure, calm, and identity. He did not just put up numbers, he created order. When the game got messy, he made it clean again. When defenses tried to speed Denver up, he slowed the game down. When things got tight, he kept making the right play. That kind of control is what separates very good players from true greats. Great players do not just score, they shape the game itself. Then came the playoff runs that changed how the whole world saw him. The bubble in 2020 gave Jokic a huge stage, and he delivered. Denver came back from 3-1, not once, but twice. That is the kind of thing that changes a player's image forever. It showed that Jokic was not just a regular season star. He was built for pressure. He could carry the weight of big moments. He could stay calm when everyone else was panicking. He could create offense when defenses tightened up and every possession felt heavy. From that point on, the old idea of Jokic as just a clever big man was gone. He was a true star. Then he became even more than that. He won MVP, and it felt shocking to some people at first, but only because they were still catching up. If you watched him closely, it made perfect sense. He was doing everything. He was scoring efficiently, rebounding at a high level, and creating shots for everyone around him. He was the center of the offense in every possible way. And then he won another MVP. At that point, people had to stop treating his rise like a surprise and start treating it like history. Very few players ever reach that level. Even fewer do it while playing in a style that looks so different from what the league usually celebrates. Of course, with praise came criticism. That always happens when a player becomes too big to ignore. Suddenly, people started looking for something missing. They said the regular season success was nice, but what about the playoffs? They said the numbers were impressive, but where was the championship? They said he was great, but not proven enough when it mattered most. Those doubts grew louder because that is what happens to every star who gets close to the top. People move the line. Once you clear one test, they give you another. Jokic heard all of it. The talk about empty numbers, the talk about playoff pressure, the talk about whether his game could really carry a team all the way. And then he answered all of it in the strongest way possible. In the 2023 playoffs, Jokic did not just win. He crushed the entire argument. He was brilliant from start to finish. He scored, passed, rebounded, controlled pace, punished mistakes, and made the game look simple even when the stakes were at their highest. He led the playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists, something nobody had ever done before. That alone tells you how complete his run was. He was not just helping in every area, he was leading in every area. It was one of the clearest signs of total control that the league has ever seen in a postseason. Denver moved through the playoffs with confidence, and Jokic was the reason why. Against every type of defense, every style of opponent, and every pressure-filled moment, he kept finding answers. Bigger defenders could not take away his touch. Faster defenders could not speed him up. Double teams could not trap him because he always found the open man. His game did not break when the pressure rose. It got even stronger. That is the mark of a player whose skill is deeper than style. When the game becomes more physical, more serious, and more demanding, the truly great players do not fade. They show their full level. Jokic did exactly that. The Western Conference Finals against the Lakers felt like a turning point in how the world talked about him. This was not just another playoff series. It was a chance to answer old pain and face one of the biggest names in basketball. Denver did not blink. Jokic did not blink. He played with total command, and the Nuggets swept the series. There was no long drama, no collapse, no doubts left hanging in the air. He looked like the best player on the floor, and more importantly, he looked like the player in full control of the whole series. By then, the conversation had changed. People were no longer asking whether he could do it. They were watching him do it. In the finals, he took it even higher. He was calm, sharp, and completely in charge. He put up huge numbers, but it was the feel of the performance that mattered even more. He never looked rushed, he never looked scared, he never played like a man chasing a moment. He played like a man who already understood that the moment belonged to him. When Denver won the title, Jokic did not need a loud celebration to make the point. The job was done. That fit him perfectly. He had never built his career on noise. He built it on results. And that championship changed everything. No more talk about whether he could finish. No more talk about whether his game translated. He had taken Denver to the top and taken his place among the greats. What makes Jokic so special is not just the awards or the title. It is the way he has forced the basketball world to rethink what greatness can look like. He is not the fastest. He is not the highest jumper. He is not the loudest star. But he may be one of the smartest players the game has ever seen. He wins with touch, timing, balance, and feel. He makes impossible passes look normal. He turns hard shots into soft ones. He controls defenders with his eyes, his body, and his patience. He sees openings before they are even there. And because of that, he has built one of the most unique careers in NBA history. Now, instead of slowing down, he is somehow still getting better. That is what makes this part of his story so wild. Most players hit a level, hold it for a while, and then slowly fall back. Jokic keeps finding new ground. He is still putting up huge numbers. He is still stacking triple-doubles. He is still leading one of the best teams in the league. And he is still doing it in a way that looks almost casual, which somehow makes it even more impressive. There is no wasted motion, no panic, no need to prove anything with style. He just reads the game, controls the floor, and leaves defenders with no answer. A lot of players can put up numbers for stretches. A lot of stars can dominate in one area. Jokic is different because he can own the game in every area at once. He can score 40 if the defense gives him space. He can grab every big rebound when the game tightens. He can throw passes that change the shape of a defense in 1 second. And if you try to take one thing away, he simply shifts to something else. That is what makes him so hard to stop. He does not play one kind of game. He plays the game that the defense allows, and then he controls that version better than anyone else on the floor. That is why the matchup against a player like Victor Wembanyama says so much. Wembanyama is exactly the kind of defender who should make life hard for everyone. He is long, quick, smart, and built to erase shots. He looks like the future of defense, and still, Jokic went right at him, scored tough baskets, created for his teammates, and led Denver to a huge win. That does not mean Wembanyama is not great. It means Jokic is operating on a different level of control. He is not just reacting to talent, he is solving it. He is reading every move, every angle, every piece of help defense, and then picking the right response. When Jokic dropped 40 points and 13 assists in that game, it felt like another message to everyone still trying to place limits on him. Even now, after all the awards, all the records, and the title, he is still doing things that sound unreal when you say them out loud. A center averaging near a triple-double, a 7-footer controlling offense better than many guards. A player who can lead a team in scoring, rebounding, and playmaking while making it all look calm. That is not normal. That is rare in the deepest way. It is not just rare for this era. It is rare for any era. And maybe that is the biggest reason Nikola Jokic has proved everyone wrong. He did not just become better than expected. He became something the league was not ready to understand. From the moment he was drafted, people tried to measure him using old ideas. They asked whether he was athletic enough, strong enough, quick enough, flashy enough. But those were the wrong questions. The real question was whether anyone had seen a player like this before. And the answer was no. Not quite like this. Not with this mix of touch, size, brain, skill, and calm. Jokic was never meant to fit an old model. He was creating a new one. Now his story feels bigger than one player, one team, or one title. It feels like a lesson about how greatness can be missed when people only look for familiar signs. Jokic reminds us that skill can be quiet and still be unstoppable. He reminds us that control can be more powerful than speed. He reminds us that a player does not need to look like a superhero to dominate the league. Sometimes the most dangerous player is the one who never seems to be in a hurry, the one who never looks rattled, the one who keeps making the right play until the game slips away from everyone else. The amazing part is that his legacy is still growing. He is already a champion, already a Finals MVP, already a multiple-time MVP, already one of the best passing big men ever, and honestly, one of the best passers the game has ever seen, no matter the position. He has already done things no player has ever done in the playoffs. He has already changed the way the center spot is viewed, and he is still adding to that story. Every season, every stretch, Every big performance adds another layer. The case gets stronger, the list of things he has done gets longer, and the number of reasons to doubt him keeps getting smaller and smaller. So when people talk about Nikola Jokic now, the conversation cannot be about whether he belongs. That part is over. He belongs with the greats. The real conversation is how high